certainly it's, this time of the week, we turn the page and begin our preparation. And it was good getting together with the guys. And obviously, a lot of them came in yesterday and watched the previous game, and yet it was good to move forward. And obviously, kind of like many of the thoughts we had, there's areas we've got to improve upon, and that's got to be the focus of this week. And then there's some things that individuals, groups did well, and got to build on that. But boy, excited to get back and preparing for Eastern Michigan.
Paul, you talked after the game about going in, your plan with the offensive line, giving some other guys looks, but Bruss and Beach, for the most part, went the distance. But both those guys, Beach didn't have a camp. Bruss missed time in camp. Did that missed time affect them at all, did you think? I know it's just the first game, but were there some early struggles for those guys that they needed to work through?
Yeah, I think that, certainly there's value to camp. And two really good players for us, and I think both Beecher and Bruss are no different than the rest of us. There's room for growth, and I think there's always value. I don't care, if you're all in camp. When you have that first game and you're going and playing, you're going to be, there's going to be things that come up, and so I think that they did some things well, and there's some things that they've both want to clean up, and I'm quite confident they will.
Well, we talked a lot in camp about the pass rush, and you got quite a bit of pressure on Clifford on Saturday. What do you think that they did well on Saturday that maybe they weren't doing as well last season?
It's so hard for me to compare this one game with last season. But I thought they did, defensively, we did a nice job of making him uncomfortable. And I thought that there was great purpose to it. Guys, I think a lot of guys really contributed to that happening. And I thought, defensively, plan-wise, staff, came up with some good things that the kids understood and then executed. And that was fun to see come up. The guys they were tight on their paths, I thought, and there was a lot of relentless effort. And I think you combine that with I think we got some guys that naturally have the ability to be good in those type of situations, and so that was good to see.
Hey, Coach, now that you've had some time to look over film from Penn State, was it what you expected it to be? Was it better? Was it worse? Or what stood out to you?
Yeah, it's some of the things that I think everyone that was in the stands knows. You've got opportunities that, situations and time of a game or where it's at in the field that everyone knows, that's what that's when you've got to be able to execute and to finish, right? And ball security is another one. Those kind of go hand in hand in some of what we did. And then there's certainly things that you see on the film that you maybe you could guess, but you weren't positive, and I think it confirmed some of that's what happened, or that was pretty good, and so I think the film always does. There's going to be some obvious things that you see, whether it's offensively, defensively, special teams, it confirmed it. And then there's other details that you see that, boy, there's some opportunity for growth, or that, that was really, really well done. And that's what gave us a chance to have it.
Just wondering what you've seen from Graham, either in the immediate aftermath of the game or in the last couple days, how he's kind of responded to what happened Saturday. If there's, you talked about the film study, anything that stood out about his performance that maybe wasn't apparent immediately after the game as well?
Not necessarily. I've liked the way that he's kind of handled it and approached it, from personal interactions with him, and going. I think that he's, trying to do the right thing and owning the things that he can, where he can be better. And so I like it. And I think he's got good energy, understands kind of his role in this whole big picture. But, I've, spent time with him and it's hard for everyone, right? But it's an opportunity to get better, and I'm confident he'll do that.
Paul, we talked a lot after the game about the red zone, lack of execution there, and ball security. When you looked at the tape, as the play caller, were there any instances where you found yourself saying, you know what, I could have put my guys in a better position on this play or that play to help them out?
I think you certainly do. Every time you go back, why didn't we just run quarterback sneak 4 times, right? We went with the play that we scored on. But yeah, I think that, in the moment, you certainly try to do the best you can, and stuff that they've got. There's a combination of things that you've done well, your kids, you feel like they have confidence in, and then combined with how does it match up against what you have been seeing or may see, right? And so, at the point, every one of them, I get what we're trying to do, and yet when it doesn't go well, you absolutely, what that didn't go the way you wanted it, and then you got to try to assess real quick. Is it the execution part of it? Do we just miss a detail? Were we just off so hey we can stick with something, or we got to get off of that? There's not the right answer for it. So, but absolutely, when you go back and look at it, because what you're really trying to do is not as much. You can't do anything about what happened, but what you are trying to do is prepare yourself and prep yourself for the next time something comes up.
Paul, talking about the distribution for the running backs, how are you making sure that it's distribution that you want, make sure the guys are getting the touches that they need this week?
Yeah, I think, that's, with all this, I know the question specifically about running backs, but I think any position, there's also how does the week go in preparation, and then, you kind of, there are different positions where, everyone has to earn the right to be on the field, and then they do, then it's also, how are they doing, what are those doing? Like I said, after the game, we thought Ches was doing some really good stuff at the running back spot, and then liked Isaac coming in, and we weren't ready to get off of Ches again, and thought Isaac keep coming, so each week can be different, right? Each game plays out differently, and our job and every player's job is to make sure they're prepared and ready to go, and when they do get the opportunity, they're ready for it and can be confident in their preparation so they can play and contribute.
Paul, along those lines, when you kind of dissect the running game, there was a lot of good in there. I mean, a lot of double-digit carries, but there was a lot of losses and 0 and 1 yard gains. Is that kind of how you look at it, just kind of a mixed bag, and there's a lot to improve on there?
Yeah, I think that, you look at it and there's a reason why, when you've got the good runs and so often it's everyone's, on the target and the back's, on his track and kind of trusting it and going. And then, we had a couple plays that, actually came repeated. Our opener wasn't very good. He ended up getting another shots at it, but we missed, so we got a guy free in the backfield, right? And so I think that's one kind of we're going back and you got to assess, okay, is there something wrong with the play, or we just got to settle it down and kind of change the approach maybe for a player or 2 players in it. And so, yeah, there was, certain schemes for us that game were a little bit better than others. And, as you kind of, you're going and probing, and then when you do well there, they're going to do some things to take it away. And I think that opened up a couple things, but it's, there was, there's a reason when there's a negative. Not that all of them are big hits, right? I think, like, Ches had one early, and I think that, the blocking got it started, but I thought he did a really good job of making it a bigger play, right? and so I think you just kind of that's kind of the game, and you got to be smart when to stay with something and when to kind of get off of it, and you got to trust your guys too. You know, if it doesn't go well, that you can come back to it.
Paul Ches was asked after the game about the number of carries he had, because obviously he had a lot of mileage, not a lot of mileage on his body coming in.
Right.
How long does it take you guys, when you have a new player at running back, to figure out how much he can handle, so it doesn't, affect him in that game or as the season goes on?
Yeah, I think it's probably it's constant communication, and then it's also early it's you can read the body, right, but you're also getting to know the individual, and so I think then it comes back to you got to be brutally honest, and try to see where they're at, and every back's different, and even time of the year they can be different, and so I don't know that there's a science to it, but I think you do have to try to. You're always conscious of it, and you want to be aware of it. But been around a lot of guys that, 1 year Brian Calhoun, he had a ton, but Brian had the ability not to really take a lot of square hits, So I think just the number alone tells part of the story, but not the whole story. And you got to kind of assess what kind of yards they are too.
We saw Mike Mescalunas get his first career start on Saturday, like possibly another one coming up this Saturday. Talking to players and throughout the training camp in the last couple of years, seems like he's a guy everybody roots for, and just everybody wants him to succeed. Why do you think that is? What is it about Mike that seems to make him popular amongst players?
No, you're right about that. I think Mike's got a ton of respect, by all of us, and I think I think he's one of those guys that's been all in this whole time, and doesn't matter what his role has been, he takes it serious, prepares, and he's just a guy, he's in it with you. You know what I mean? And I think that, and he's a really good teammate. He cares about people, and he checks on people. He tries to lead, and has been that for a while. And sometimes that's tricky, right? In a role that if you're not a starter, but he's found a way. A lot of it has always been kind of a leader in our special teams room, and I think just the way that he goes about it, people respect him, and I think that's why there was, a lot of excitement for him to get this opportunity.
Paul, there weren't many deep throws the other day. I know there's probably a lot that goes into that. When you went back and watched, were there opportunities there? And I guess philosophically, do you kind of go into games saying we need to do that once or twice, or is that not the right way of looking at things?
No, I think you have to have some, that have the opportunity for them if they're presented, and we had a couple, but really they weren't there for us to take advantage of, and therefore, you found yourself not doing it right, and so that was the first sack. There was a potential for it, depending on how the defense played it. So I think there's always going to be some plays where, if it's presented, that you can take advantage of it, but you can't force them. So never believe that you should just say, okay, we're going to throw. The ball has to go down the field this many times. I think you got to have opportunities for it if it's there, but I think you got to have the discipline to take it when it's there and not when it's not available to you.
Paul, it was defense obviously making some readjustments, and really every side too, with fans coming back and everything. Some of the guys saying that they did need to make some readjustments with communication because it's the first time in a while. How much of focus this week are you going to have on making sure that the guys work on communication on the defensive side? Yeah,
I mean, I think that the communication is a big part of the game, and we always spend a lot of time and yes, last year it wasn't the same challenges weren't presented, and like you said, when we've got a home game, and we love it, and appreciate the fans for this, but it gets loud. And so I think, we're always working on it, but, there is something to be said about real games, and real real noise. And so I think that, that's one of those. It's good. We've got veteran guys, and they've been in those situations before, but you're always continuing to work at it, and you're still trying to find ways to tweak it and make sure that no matter what side of the ball, the communication part, there's a piece of it that's really important.
Paul, looking forward to this weekend now with Eastern Michigan. What are some things about their game that jumps out to you as you guys get set to prepare for it?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, right now you're kind of in the beginning stages of really studying, our opponent. But I think that, we know that it's a good team. I mean, they played, last year they didn't, but the previous 3 years, played 3 Big Ten teams, and they won all 3 of those games. So the returning players are going to be, I'm guessing, will be confident coming in here, and I think that always, it's our job and our approach we got to study our opponent. We got to know our opponent. But the real focus each and every week is on yourself and how does it apply against that opponent. And that's where it's always exciting to face a new opponent. And each one presents different challenges. And this week, we'll have challenges presented to us by them, and kind of in the process of finishing up, and that's kind of the first part of the week. What the game plan is, and make sure our kids understand it so that they feel confident and can go play and without thinking on Saturdays.
Just going back to the running backs really quick. With Jalen, what is it that's kind of what more do you need to see from him in the practice field, or what is it that's kind of maybe held him back so far?
Yeah, I think Jalen's had a good approach, and we've also liked what Ches and Isaac have done, and the way the game played out, we weren't thinking we needed to go with 3 at the time, but it's not, and I think that's always can be a tricky thing for any individual, right? And yet you just keep going and keep working at it, and but just because he didn't play doesn't mean he's doing something wrong, right? It's also liked what Ches did and liked what Isaac did.
Paul, I can't remember if you were asked this after the game, but Danny Davis, that was his first game action for quite a long time.
Yeah.
What do you think he gave you, both as a receiving threat and maybe blocking, if you saw anything on tape?
Yeah, no, I thought Danny was. It was good to have him, and I thought that he kind of liked the way he played, and certainly was productive in catches, but I thought he did a good job. He had a number of runs where I think he was coming in and was trying to play every play, and but it was good having him. Like you said, it's been a while for Danny, and so I've liked the way they've all kind of Danny and KP, Dunner, Chim. I've liked the way they've approached camp, and I think that as we got going, it was good for them to get this first game in, and continuing to we're going to need to lean on those guys.